In the 22 months of the ever-escalating violence in Syria, over 700,000 people have escaped the country. Men, women, children have risked their lives in their journey to flee the war. In the last month alone, more than 60,000 refugees have made it into Jordan. Our Foreign Affairs Correspondent Jonathan Miller has been to one of the secret crossing points along the Syria-Jordan border to meet the families who crossed last night amid heavy shelling and gunfire.
From a wind-whipped, desolate hilltop just inside Jordan, all seems quiet on the northern front. But Bashar al-Assad's tanks are prowling on the frontier as the day begins to fade. The outskirts of the city of Daraa aren't far away, the city where the revolution started.
It's just coming up to 6 p.m. and we're at a little outpost of the border guard of the Royal Jordanian Army. They've got a watchtower there. You can probably see a night scope up on top there, allowing them to see in the dark straight into Syria. The reason it's so easy to do so is because we're virtually in Syria. That road is the border. Beyond it, Syria. Those olive trees in Syria, and beyond them, two little villages in the district of Daraa. Daraa city is a couple of kilometers in that direction, and that is where most of the refugees are coming from. We're now going to sit it out for the next few hours until we hear from the Free Syrian Army on the other side when the refugees are going to cross.
Katiba Jabbar is a lonely place, exposed to desert winds that chill you to the bone. The border guard is ready for what the night will bring. The shooting started shortly after sunset. The Syrians fire at the Jordanians every night, but the Jordanians don't fire back.
Those are close.
And Bashar's forces shoot and shell the groups of refugees hiding somewhere down there in the darkness. Unexpectedly, a Jordanian ambulance arrives. On board, 4 old people who'd somehow become separated from their group. They may have been the target of the gunfire, but they made it. Just. They're exhausted.
There's a lot of shooting going on now. This old man and these few who've arrived here are a group of, I think, about 45, among a much larger group. You can hear the firing going on right now, and there's been shell fire. Those down on the border must be utterly terrified.
I went up to the watchtower. We weren't allowed to film the night vision screen, but I was allowed to report what I could see.
I've seen a group of about 80 refugees hiding in a ditch behind a berm. I've seen an FSA position and their commander and his vehicle, and I've seen 3 T-72 tanks of the Syrian army and several missile batteries. They know exactly where the refugees are, and they've been firing at them. The refugees are now on the move and are heading this way.
We join the reception party and head down the hill towards the frontier. No lights. We're in direct line of fire. They're talking to the FSA commander. A deep ditch demarcates the border. Rebel soldiers are building a mud bridge. We could turn our camera light on now. Here, we were hidden from the known Syrian positions. Out of the blackness, they emerged. They'd run the gauntlet of their oppressor. Now, they were but a few short steps from safety. Behind them, a building blazes, hit by shellfire. This ditch was not the intended crossing point. Pinned down by regime gunfire, the FSA had changed the plan.
These people have been cowering in the darkness for hours, and under shellfire too. I just can't believe the number of them. There's old people, women, little tiny children, and they just keep coming. I can see more and more coming in over this field.
The final head count for this group reached 149. They are now at the limit of endurance. They've been walking for hours, braced for instant death. The soldiers guide them the long way up and round the hill, out of sight of Syrian forces. 3,000 Syrians are entering Jordan like this every night now, 24 crossing points, like this, along a 250-mile-long frontier. 60,000 have crossed in January alone. They've made it to Katiba Jabber. Lights, gas fires, water, food and shelter, and a dawning realization that the terror is behind them. As they recovered, some sat quietly, some wept. Others wanted to tell us what it was they'd run from. Haj Zaidan said they'd undergone a suffocating siege. No food, no sleep, just fear. Fawzia said they'd died many deaths to get here. Then we met Marwa.
في ابن خاله لجوزي فاتوا لعنده على البيت حرقوه مثل ما هو حرقوه رجعوا على بيتنا حرقوا البيت حرقوا العيادة تبع سلفي ما خلوا شيء ما حرقوه دمار ما في شيء دمار أنا ما بيهمني يا الأولاد اللي طلعوا الحمد لله وصلنا للأمان وخلاص.
Marwa's eldest son, Mohammed, is 10 years old. He talked matter-of-factly of unspeakable depravity.
اجا انفجرت الدار وجا راس صاحب الدار عندنا بالبحرة. خفنا.
This family painted an apocalyptic picture of their hometown, Basra al-Sham, an ancient city, now a scene of slaughter, with even children's corpses in the streets.
اليوم طالعة من بصرة خلال ساعة 200 صاروخ. كل حمولة جوزي ماتت ما ظل حدا. كل يوم ببصرة الشام عم يقبروا 6 و7 و8 بتوصل 12. في جثث عم يسحبوها سحب بالحبال، في جثث بعدها تركناها وبعدها. والله العظيم في جثث تركناها بعدها.
But this long night was far from over. At 4 a.m., another 358 Syrians entered Jordan at this same crossing. 14 of them were shot and wounded as they did so.
عند قدوم اللاجئين باتجاه الأردن عادة هو بصير عملية تحرش فيهم ورماية عشوائية ورماية غير منضبطة وقسم من هاي الرماية بتجي باتجاه قواتنا المسلحة لحرس الحدود وحدود الأردنية وبتصيب أيضا اللاجئين. يعني احنا متعودين على هذه الحالة وهذا السلوك العسكري من الطرف الآخر.
In the small hours of the morning, Marwa, Mohammed and their family left with their fellow travellers to begin a new life as refugees in Jordan's Zatari camp, 18 miles as the crow flies from the smouldering ruins of their home.
Bye.
Jonathan Miller, Channel 4 News, Jordan.